Hi folks. Today I thought I would take a look at some comparisons that I've done within the Faber-Castell line of products, and also comparing Faber-Castell with another, I believe, German line of art materials. You probably see this shirt. I wear this quite a lot in the fall and winter, and so it could be that I'm recording this in the same day that I've recorded other videos, but I also wear this shirt a lot. It's from LL Bean. It's actually it's got some hay on it. Sorry, I was out feeding my horses. It's a men's flannel shirt that's got, you can see this, it's got fleece on the inside, so sort of fuzzy fleece blanket kind of material, and it's just so warm and toasty, and the arms are super long because it's a men's shirt. So I do wear other shirts, but I do in the evenings when I'm relaxing, I tend to throw this on. It's got a hood, it's got buttons down the front, it's just so warm and cozy. So in a previous video, we took a look through my swatch book, and we did look at this page. So this is my Albrecht Dürer watercolor pencil swatch page. And I've got the color names, the color numbers, a dry swatch, a wet swatch for each one. I've got the Albrecht Dürer watercolor marker swatches here, where, those colors are I put them. So here we've got 107 cadmium yellow, and I can zoom in a bit just to show you this. So we've got 107 cadmium yellow, and we've got dry and wet of Albrecht Dürer, and then we've also got the Albrecht Dürer marker there. And so I've done that, wherever there's been a matching marker. And I also have created a lot of my own swatch pages for Faber-Castell, because some of them I couldn't find them online. There wasn't a free one. I just couldn't find one. So I made my own. So if anybody sees any of these pages, and I'll try and point out which ones are ones that I've made, and you would like them, what I will do is I will put a link probably to a Google Drive folder in the comments below, and you should be able to download them there. So this is the Faber-Castell Gold Faber Aqua Dual Markers, 60 count. So I'll just maybe come back out just a bit there. And I just put numbers and names. I tend to swatch in color family, well, as best I can. Some of these, particularly for ones where I made the swatch chart, I tried to put them in color family as best I could. I apologize if it's maybe not the order that you would do them in or put them in. My eye for color is getting better, but it's not, I'm definitely not a trained artist. So I sort of start with yellow. So it's not rainbow order. It starts with yellow, orange, red, sort of pinks, and then it goes into purples, and then kind of violets, and then into blues, and then we've got into the blue greens, kind of yellow greens, and then it just sort of goes into kind of earth tones, right? And then you've got your grays, and then black would be at the end. So this is one that I made up, so I'll try and remember to put a link for that in the description. This is also one that I made, and I'll zoom in a bit here. So this is the Gold Faber colored pencils, and I think we took a quick look at this one in my swatchbook video as well, and the Gold Faber watercolor pencils. And I put them all in one page just because I thought, it'd be interesting to see them together. So there are 48 Gold Faber colored pencils, and there are 48 Gold Faber watercolor pencils that match the colors, but there are also 12 pastel colors of the watercolor pencils. So you can see in the swatch chart here, so we've got, 104 light yellow glaze, there's the Gold Faber pencil, there's the aqua pencil dry, the aqua pencil wet, and then that, we've got all three, with two pencils, but three swatches. And then here now we've got 406 pastel chrome yellow. This color doesn't exist in the Gold Faber colored pencils, so I just put a gray square there when I was creating this chart. I think I created most of these charts in Excel, which is, Microsoft Excel. And So there's only a swatch for the aqua pencil dry and the aqua pencil wet for that one. Same with 409 pastel orange. So anytime you see this gray square here, it's part of that. That'll be one of those 12 that only exist in the watercolor pencils. There's a number of them over here. They're very pretty colors. And I'm filming this in the evening, so I just have artificial light. So I don't know if you can see there. So we've got the, ooh, not focusing. Here we go. So pastel phthalo green, pastel permanent green, pastel May green. They're just very pretty pastel colors. And of course, with any watercolor pencil, you can use them dry or wet. I know I watch a lot of Shell's coloring journey, and she uses her Albrecht Dürers for almost everything. And she just does amazing things with them, dry and wet. So the marker swatches that you see here, I took any of the Gold Faber Aqua Dual markers that we just looked at, and if there was a color, matching color, I just put it a little swatch there. Just, you know, so this is light magenta in Gold Faber pencil, the Aqua pencil's dry and wet, and then that's 119 light magenta in the Gold Faber Aqua Dual markers. So that's what those little bits are. So that was a chart that I made up on my own. This is another one. I think we looked at this one quick in the swatch book video as well. So I've got on here the Pitt Pastel pencils, the 60. So that's this first column here. This way. That's all the Pitt Pastel pencils. And then, maybe I'll zoom back out a bit so you can see the whole page. There we go. And then the soft pastels, a 70 set. So that's the little chalk pastels, the little rectangle chalk pastels. And that's the second column here and there and there. And I did fix this after I was done swatching. That's why I'm running my finger and it's not coming off. The oil pastels, there's 36 of them. So they're in the third column there, again. And then the 48 set of watercolor pans. That's in this last column. And I did this to save space in my swatch book, but also it allows me, again, to compare colors. So these are kind of, you know, some of the media that I might use to do backgrounds. You know, you've got your soft pastels and the oil pastels, the watercolor, just to see, you know. And it is interesting. So all of the gray squares here are, again, you know, if, for example, with, say, 104, well, let's go with a color you maybe can see a bit better. So here we've got 118 Scarlet Red. So there's a Scarlet Red in the Pitt Pastel pencil. There's a Scarlet Red in the soft pastels, but there's not a Scarlet Red in the oil pastels. So that's why there's a, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to get a ruler, because then it's probably better than me pointing. Sorry, there's a bit of a glare from that ruler. It's got cork and then it's metal on the other side, but the only other ruler I had to hand was clear one. So, you know, there's the Pitt Pastel pencil, the soft pastel. There's no oil pastel, so I just grayed it in. And then there's the watercolor. So there's, you know, fairly good. The Pitt Pastel pencil, that's part of their Pitt range, so that's artist grade. The soft pastels and the oil pastels I don't think are. But Faber-Castell does use the same numbering system. So, you know, 106 light chrome yellow is, you know, it's 106 light chrome yellow in the Pitt Pastel pencils, in Polychromos, in Albrecht Dürer, even in their Gold Faber line. You know, 106 is light chrome yellow. And the colors, and I have another swatch project that I'll show you in a minute here that compares everything. So the colors are somewhat the same when you go across the lines. I don't know, I'm going to try and find an example here where it's not quite the same. Cobalt blue. At the top here, you can see. So that first one is Cobalt blue, 143 in Pitt Pastel pencil. Soft pastels, it's pretty close. Oil pastels, it's a little bit different. Watercolor, it's quite different. Same color family, but I wouldn't say that those colors are an exact match by any means. So understandable though, right? Because with pigments and with dyes, this is mostly pigments we're talking about here, you've got different carriers and different binders depending on the type of media you've got or the type of medium you have. So it can be difficult to replicate colors when you're going from the type of carriers and binders that you would have in a pastel pencil versus the type of carriers and binders and those kinds of things you have in a watercolor paint. So, I mean, it's totally understandable, but it's just interesting to see, you know, the comparison. So again, this chart is one that I have, that I made up. So I will put a link to that one below. This is another chart that I made up. So I'll try and link this one as well. This is, come in again. So this is the Pitt pens. So these ones here, these Faber-Castell Pitt pens. Oh, that wasn't a great one to grab. Let's see if I can find one that's got black writing on it. There we go. Ooh, camera's having a hard time focusing. Sorry about that. Maybe it's because I zoomed in. Try and zoom out a bit. Could be the light too. There we go. That's better. So these are the Pitt artist pens, right? They've got the really fine tip on them. Love these pens. Love coloring with them. So that's the first column here. So 60 colors. 60 colors of brush plus 7 bullet tips. And the 7 bullet tips are, if I remember correctly, the metallics, which are over here on the side. Those are all bullet tips. And the white comes in a bullet tip and a brush tip. The second column is the big brush pens, and that is these ones. They don't make them anymore. I wish they did. So this is, they're still Pitt artist pens. It's still India ink. It's still light fast, but it was a bigger brush, right? They don't make them anymore. They do have a substitute now, which I'll talk about in a second, but I don't have all of these colors. So if you see any white squares, that's colors I don't have. If anyone has a set of those that they are willing to part with and sell, let me know. I would love to be able to purchase, you know, some of these missing colors. I love them. I color with them all the time. So yeah. You can see on the side here, I've got little marks. And I think I talked about this when I was talking about my swatch book. So next to the white, you can see there's 5 little marks there. I have 5 whites. So that's just a little sort of inventory that I have going for myself so that I know, you know, how many extras I have. I tend to, and I know, was it Marie Kondo or there's a Stored at the Store? I think she was the one that said that. And I do think that that's a good idea. But because I live so rurally, I don't live anywhere near a city. The nearest city is 4 hours away by, like on the highway by car. And the small town that's about a half an hour away from me doesn't have an art store. We have a Walmart. So I can't get a lot of these things easily. And in Canada, shipping takes a long time. I don't know why. Well, because I don't live in a city, right? If I order something from Amazon, I do not get same-day delivery. I do not get next-day delivery. I get a week later delivery. And it's because of where I live. So it's easier for me to have extras in stock in my own house rather than storing it at the store because then I have it. So that's why I do that. So yeah, we've got the big brush pens in the next column. The third column is the dual brush, and that's these ones. Oh, that wasn't a great color to, I don't know if you can see. Ooh, sorry. So, oh, that wasn't a great one to grab. Let's try one that's got lighter. This might be easier to see. Sorry, getting used to the camera is. So there we go. That's cadmium yellow 107. It's quite a bit darker in person. So if these colors look washed out, I do apologize for that. I'm filming this at night and my lighting might be washing it out a bit, but I'm not so worried about, you know, specific colors here. And then the fourth column is the Albrecht Dürer watercolor markers. These ones. Right, so then we've got, they look very similar to these new Pitt dual brush pens or markers that they came out with. And again, you know, swatching them like this, it saves space in my swatch book, and it also allows me to compare colors, you know, across the line. And you'll notice all of these are considered their artist grade, right? You've got Pitt, the Albert Dürer, it doesn't have Pitt as part of the name, but it's still their artist grade. And the color matching, say there's 219 right above my ruler there, scarlet red. See if I can zoom in a bit. The color matching across, oops, sorry, kind of moving a bit there. Apologies, making anyone sick. The color matching across that line is almost exact, right? It almost looks like I did the same marker across those four, but I didn't. Those are four different markers. You know, same thing where we've got May Green. That's one of my favorite Faber-Castell colors. We've got May Green across there. It looks like I did it with the same marker, but I didn't. Little S's you can see in there. I have a super fine point of the May Green and a few of the others. Cobalt Green, Phthalo Blue, Magenta. So it's the super fine point. They look very much like these artist Pitt pens, but instead of having the brush, it's got like a fine liner point almost. Still India ink and still light fast though, so that's kind of nice. There we go. So, chart that I made up. This one is from Becky's DIY color charts, and this is the Polychromos. The little bits of color on the side, that's if I had Pitt pens in the same color as, so, you know, I don't have Pitt pens in all the Polychromos colors, but I have a Pitt pen in 113, orange glaze. So there's a little bit of Pitt pen there. 223 deep red, right? 170 May Green. So if I had a Pitt pen, I just put a little swatch of color there. And then at a glance too, because I like to use the Pitt pens and the Polychromos together, I can have this out and I can say, okay, I have 174 chromium green opaque in Pitt pen, and you know, if I want to sort of come up with some color combinations, I know what I have in Pitt pen compared to the Polychromos colors that I might be using. So that's why I did that. And then this was Color with Claire, her family chart, color family chart. She offers these for free. I believe it's on her Ko-fi page, but colorwithclaire.com, or you can go to her YouTube channel, and I think she's got some links on the About page on her YouTube channel, and she offers these for free. You can give a donation if you would like. Just a great resource to have. And I think that's the Faber-Castell pages that I have. Now, the pencil or the company that I want to compare Faber-Castell with is Lyra. I think it's Lyra. I don't think it's Lyra. Lyra. Just trying to find. Okay. There we go. Lyra, I think, is also a German company. Faber-Castell is a German company. Although the parent company to Lyra, I believe, is now an Italian company. Fimo, I think. I think Fimo owns Lyra now. So I really like the Lyra products as well. I think they're good. And I found, and this was just sort of by accident, I was looking at the numbers, the color numbers for Lyra. And because I use the Faber-Castell, Polychromos and what have you so often, I kind of, have some of the colors and color numbers memorized. And I was looking at Lyra one day and I thought, I'm looking at like 009 Chrome Yellow Deep. And I'm thinking, that looks really, really similar to 109 in, say, Pitt pens, or, it doesn't have numbers on it. Since we're looking at the dual brush markers, so let's look at there's 109 dark chrome yellow in Pitt pens, right above my finger. And there's 109 Chrome Yellow Deep, so not quite the same name. So we've got dark Chrome Yellow Deep. This is 009. This is 109. So then I started to take a closer look. So here is 118, Scarlet Red. Oh, I picked the wrong one. Let's pick, didn't have an 18. Let's go with, let's, 133. Where's 133? 133, there's Magenta in Polychromos, or not Polychromos, Pit Pens, sorry. 133 Magenta. There's 033 Bordeaux. And I thought, there's definitely something going on here. Here's 070, Yellow Stille de Grain. So I think that's a little bit of French. Please forgive my French pronunciation. I know I'm in Canada. I took some French in school, but my pronunciation is not great. 070, Yellow Stille de Grain. Right there. There's 170, May Green. So the numbers, if you just sort of drop the 1, so this is 170, this is 70. They kind of match up. And Lyra matches up across their different lines as well. So this was the Lyra Aqua Brush Dual Marker. So very similar to, just grab one here. So here we've got, this one is the Gold Faber Aqua Dual Marker. Let's see if I can, right? Gold Faber Aqua Dual Marker. This happens to be a light yellow glaze, 104. And this is, should have grabbed, oh, that doesn't match either. So this is the Lyra Aqua Brush Duo, and this happens to be 005 Cadmium Yellow Lemon. These Lyra ones have a brush end, and it's not quite a fine liner. It's a fine end, a fine tip end, but not a fine liner. Very similar to the Gold Faber-Castell Aqua Dual Markers, brush end. This one I do believe has a fine liner end. Well, not exactly. I don't know if you can see that. It's not quite a fine liner, but it is still fine. So they're very similar sort of types of pens, and the colors, the numbers seem to match up, be comparable. These are the Lyra water-soluble wax pastels. So these are very similar to, and I don't have one out beside me, but I can do another video looking at those. I think Corey from Colorfully Optimistic has done a comparison. So these are very similar to the Neocolor 2s. So they're water-soluble crayons. But I just thought it was neat because the Neocolor 2s, you can certainly match colors by eye if I'm using, say, Polychromos pencils and I want to have a similar color or a similar shade in the Neocolor 2s. But this, if I have, say, 0 or 107 in Polychromos, 007 in these Lyra crayons is going to be pretty close. 074 Cedar Green. That's very similar to, in the Polychromos or the Faber-Castell line, that's very similar to 174 Chromium Green Opaque. So 074, 174. And this just goes, these are Lyra art pens. I don't have those out either, I apologize. They're also a water-based marker. These, I would say, are very much student grade. I noticed that the color matching with these ones is probably the worst across the line. And yeah, I would say they're just kind of a less expensive marker pen. This is the Lyra Rembrandt Aquarelle pencils. So 72 count is the largest you can get. So these would kind of be comparable to your Faber-Castell Abrac Durer pencils. I would say, and in doing this comparison, I think, And in having used these materials, I think the Faber-Castell is a better quality, particularly their artist line. You know, their Pitt line or Polychromos, Albrecht Dürer, those lines I think are definitely a higher quality than the Lyra. But Lyra isn't bad. And again, here we've got 70 apple green. That's going to compare to 170 May green in Polychromos and Albrecht Dürer. Then I've got the Polycolor pencils. So this is their I would say they're a harder pencil, and I'm not entirely sure if they're wax or I would say oil-based. They kind of feel oil-based. So they feel like Polychromos, which is why in my Polychromos Plus set that I talked about in another video, so it's my Polychromos pencils plus a few more, I included some of these Lyra Rembrandt polycolors because they feel similar. But, you know, you've got, colors that compare. There are 78 of these. So the same 72 colors up top here that you find in their water-based, so these Lyra Rembrandt Aquarelle. And then the Polycolor colored pencils, there's 6 grays down here at the bottom that don't, as far as I can tell, don't come in the water-based. I just wanted to insert a quick little extra bit here, just in case there was any confusion over the numbering system for the Lyra pencils. Lyra pencils have, let's see if I can get close-up focus here, a lot of numbers on there. Oh, too close. So this is dark carmine. There's 2 and a lot of zeros, and then 26. The only numbers you really need to pay attention to is the end numbers. So in this case, 26. The same thing, so that was one of the Lyra Rembrandt Polycolor pencils. The same thing will go, and this is a case I have both my Lyra Polycolors and the Aquarelle pencils in here. It flips out like that. So if we find 26 in the Aquarelle pencils, so it's still dark carmine. This says 201 and then some zeros and 26. So the beginning numbers, as far as I can tell, just indicate whether you're talking about their Polycolor pencils or their Aquarelle pencils. But the color number, the only one that you need to worry about for color, is that end number, 26. All right. So I just wanted to, and you'll notice when I do my swatch charts, these are the little swatch cards that I have that I keep in my cases. There's 26 right there. You'll notice I just write 26. I don't bother with all the 2s and the zeros. So it's a long number, but you only really need to worry about the end number. And I think that's it. So what I did for comparison was, and I'm sure you guys are probably either rolling your eyes or shaking your head or laughing at me by now. I know, I'm sorry. I'm a nerd. I'm a math science nerd. And I love comparing things. I love organizing. And this is kind of, you know, as much as I love the coloring, I also love doing this. So I thought I would share. If this doesn't appeal to anybody else, that's okay. It appeals to me and it's fun. So I guess that's the important part. Here's what I did. I will see if I can lift this up so you can see. Actually, you know what I'll do first is this is another, I don't know if this is a swatch book. This is a book that has, things in it that probably only maybe nerdy people would want or care about. So this is Faber-Castell comparison chart. So on the end there, we've got, I'm trying to be able to read this. Sorry, hang on. We've got Pitt pens. Oh, it's a little blurry. Then big brush Pitt pens, the dual Pitt pens, and then I've got the Polychromos pencils, then the Albrecht Dürer pencils, wet only, then the Albrecht Dürer markers, the Pitt pastel pencils, the soft pastels, the watercolor paints, the oil pastels, the Gold Faber colored pencils, the Gold Faber watercolor pencils, and then the Gold Faber dual aqua markers. So, I'm just going to unfold this. What I did was, and I'll just maybe use the, what can I use? Yeah, I'll use the, and there's a slit here for a reason. I'll talk about that in a sec. I'm going to take off that sticker. I'll use the bottom end of this. So what I did was I just did the color Faber-Castell number on the very end column here. And I don't know if I can, there we go. Maybe that's a bit easier to see. And then all of the different types of media that had that color, I swatched across. And if a particular media didn't include that color, then I just put a grayed in square. This white square here, you can see, that's because there should be a big brush Pitt pen, color number 103, which I remember is that cream or ivory? I think it's ivory. I just don't have it. So I hope one day to get it, but I don't have it. So let's take a look at maybe a color that's easier to see than a yellow. Let's look at 113. 113 is in a lot of different Faber-Castell products. So Pitt pen, big brush Pitt, dual Pitt pen, Polychromos, Albrecht Dürer markers, the pastel pencils. You can see the color matching across is, you know what, it's pretty good. It's not bad. Let's see, there's 109, which is, make sure I don't get this. 109 is, oh, what is 109? 109 is dark chrome yellow. So dark chrome yellow in Faber-Castell has it in everything except their oil pastels, apparently. The color matching is pretty good up to about there. I would say it's pretty phenomenal. The Albrecht Dürer pencils probably look a little paler because I activated them. So that's kind of, it's been activated and washed out. And then the watercolor paints, a little different. The Gold Faber, particularly the water markers here in the end, it does get different. So, the color matching once you get into the Gold Faber line isn't as great. And so here we've got, there's 118, which is, that's a scarlet color, isn't it? And the watercolor paints are pretty far off. That's not bad, the Gold Faber, in comparison. You can see, where's one? This is 125, off screen there. So just above the line here. So again, 125 in the big brush Pitt. It exists, but I don't have it. And then we've got the other sort of artist grade stuff here. Color matching is pretty good. But then when we get it over to the oil pastels and the Gold Faber, it's not as great. And I understand that because, they're not going to spend as much money on their student grade lines as they do on their artist grade lines. But I just thought this was, I don't know, an interesting thing for me, I guess, as a nerd to do. And so, there's that. And then I did there's the blues and purples. Now, there's a lot of gray squares here because there are some colors, particularly in the Gold Faber, the dual aqua pens, markers. I say pens, sometimes I say markers. The Brits say pens. In the States, you guys tend to say markers. I think I tend to use both. So that's these ones. There's some colors that they have that don't exist in any of their others that I could find, any of the other lines. So we've got 197, 249. I just didn't see them in... Oh, no, 249 is... Oh, no, it's up... No, that's... Oh, 249 was there. Darn it. Okay. 282, pretty sure that one doesn't exist. It was like a grayed lavender or something. So, yeah, if you see, gray squares where... here, the watercolor paints had a couple colors. 285, 150. I think 150 was like a Paris blue or something. It just doesn't exist in anything else. So that's why there's lots of gray squares. There's our green blues and our greens. There's kind of the earth tones. And then there's the grays, blacks, and then some of the specialty. There's kind of some of the metallics. And so 250 is metallic gold, whether it's in the Pitt pens, Polychromos, Albrecht Dürer, watercolor paints, or the Goldfaber. And then there was some neons that were just in the soft pastels and the watercolor paints. I also did a comparison with the Lyra. So Lyra, say color, and I just wrote 1, 2, 3, but it's actually 001, 002, but I just was being lazy. So 007, which is comparable to 107 in Faber-Castell. There's the Duo, so that's these guys here, the Aquabrush Duo markers. There's the art markers. There's the crayons activated, so the Neocolor 2s. There's their Polycolor pencils, and then there's their Aqua pencils activated. Their color matching isn't as good as Faber-Castell. You can see, for example, let's take a color that's 70 color, which is 170 in Faber-Castell is May Green, love it. 70 here is Yellow Still de Gray, I think it's called. You can see the color matching isn't as good across the line, but I think it's still comparable. You know, it's not way off. Some of them are a little bit more off. If I look at, say, over here, this is 83. So 183 in Faber-Castell. That's one of the ochre colors, isn't it? I think so. And so, but here you've got, it's 083 in the Duo pens for Lyra, the art pens, the art markers, their watercolor crayons, Polycolor pencils, and Aqua. The color matching is not as great. So this was just a Lyra comparison chart that I had done. And then I did, because again, I'm just nerdy and I like all this comparing. Sorry for that shiny cover there. This is, to maybe lift this up so you can see. See what that says? Faber-Castell versus Lyra comparison chart. And I had to make these swatch squares really small because there was just no way to fit this all on one page unless I did. So I measured, and then I took another piece of card and I cut out a slot so that I could just focus on one line at a time. So this is, and I know it must be hard to see because it's very small, but I don't want to lift it up because it gets kind of blurry. This is, well, let's go, there's 109. So this is back to the, in Faber-Castell, this is the dark chrome yellow, 109. And across the top, I've got Pitt pens, big brush, Pitt. So it's kind of the same order. So we've got kind of at the beginning here, you know, this section, this is the sort of artist grade Faber-Castell stuff. And then we get into the Goldfaber stuff over here. And then, oh, sorry, it's going out of focus there. Then the Lyra, we've got the markers here, crayons, and then the pencils there. So we can see 109 across both the Faber-Castell and the Lyra range. Color matching, really quite good. A little bit paler there. That's the Albrecht Dürer that's activated. But the color matching there is pretty good. Getting less good over here. We're into the watercolor paints and the Goldfaber. Still fairly good when you get into the Lyra in comparison. So this is 009 in Lyra, 109 in Faber-Castell. The markers, I think, are always more off. The crayon looks lighter because, again, it's been activated. It's watercolor. And then we've got the pencils. But, yeah, so that's a comparison I did between Faber-Castell and Lyra. So we've got our yellows and oranges, and then our reds, and then kind of pinks and purples. There were a few color numbers that didn't correspond. And it's pretty obvious, I think, which one you can see in here. So 120 in the Faber-Castell sort of range is, I believe that's ultramarine, if I'm correct. Yeah, 120 ultramarine. So we've got 120, but 020 in Lyra is not. It was a red. I don't remember the actual color name. I could probably find it here. Sorry. There, this was the 020. It's permanent red. So for whatever reason, that didn't match up, subtracting 100. But here, like 146, that's the sky blue in Faber-Castell line, right? And then 046 is still, that one's a little off, but I would say those ones, and even the marker is pretty good in comparison in the Lyra range, right? It's still, it's not, obviously not as far off as that one is. This 010, so this 110 in the Faber-Castell range is, 110 is cobalt blue? Nope. 110 is, I should know this. And phthalo blue. So 110 is phthalo blue in the Faber-Castell range. So here we've got phthalo blue, right? And then 010 in the Lyra range is not. It's like peach. So, or I think it's called light orange or something like that. There were a few that didn't match up, but quite a few of them did. So there's our blues and purples. There's our blue greens and then greens. Here's kind of the earth tones. And then here's the grays. And the reason I did it like this was because the gray numbers did not match up. The grays in the Faber-Castell line are all, you've got your warm grays, which are like 275, 274, 273, so that's getting lighter. 270 is warm gray 1, and then 230 is cold gray 1, and then 231. They didn't match up with the gray numbering at all for Lyra. So black matched up. It was 199 in Faber-Castell, 099 in Lyra, but I just put the grays down there because it just didn't match. The metallics, there's only 2 metallics in the art markers in Lyra, but they had the same numbers. They were 250. So it was 250 is metallic gold in Faber-Castell. It's also metallic gold in Lyra. 251 is metallic silver in Faber-Castell. 251 metallic silver in Lyra. And the few neon colors that were in the art markers, the numbers, did they match up? The numbers didn't match up. No, they didn't. No, not at all. So 253 was like neon pink, but it's 328 in Lyra. So those didn't match up. But yeah, that's a comparison. And these charts I made, these charts, the Faber-Castell alone comparison charts, and the Lyra comparison alone charts, all of those I made myself. So I will link all of those in the description below. Probably again, like I say, to maybe a Google Drive folder. So you folks are welcome to download them for yourselves. And if you want to be this nerdy, I guess you can. I also started a Stettler comparison chart, but I didn't get nearly as far, probably because I don't have as many Stettler products, and some of them aren't like their, which one was it? They're like their dual-ended markers don't have any numbers on them, so it was hard for me to compare. I mean, I tried to, do a few. Some of their other stuff has numbers on them, like their Karat pencils, their watercolor pencils, so I could do a bit of a comparison. And they're color matching across, like here's 3. I think 3 is just straight up blue, they call it in Stettler. So the ones that I could find or did have numbers, the color matching isn't bad, going across. 1 I think they just call yellow. Again, not bad. I don't have their Design Journey pencils so I couldn't put any of those in. I don't have any of their watercolor crayons, so I didn't put any of those in. That's why there's all these white. I don't have any of their, I think these are soft pastels. I don't have any of those. I do have some of their oil pastels. I think I had those from when my daughter was a child. This is their tinted graphite. It's there. So, yeah, they're Ergo Soft. I have some of them, but not all. They're fine liners. So I did. I started the Statler comparison. So if anyone wants these charts, I can put these down below as well, too. If you have all of their stuff and you want to finish them, that would be great. I hope, I'm just looking at my screen, I hope that's not too blurry. I know I had zoomed in a bit just for people to see. But, yeah, hopefully that's not too bad. If there's a fly, oh my goodness. No, I think it left now. Anyway, that is all. So hopefully you found this interesting. If nothing else, I hope it's not too boring. Yeah, I hope everyone is well. I hope you're staying safe, and I hope you're enjoying your coloring. That's it for now. Thanks for sticking with me, and I will see you later. Bye!